Hey folks, it's Brent with the Downing Group. This week we're going to talk about what to look for when buying property on Lake Murray. So, welcome back to the channel. This week I thought we would just talk about some of the key factors and what to look for with property on Lake Murray. How does all this work and so forth. I get a lot of questions from folks that call us about buying property on Lake Murray because we sell more property on Lake Murray than anyone. I live on the lake and I have come to love it here, and it's like being on vacation whenever I come home. So I get a lot of questions about, what should we be looking for and so forth, and I covered it in a video probably about a year and a half ago, but I thought it'd be a good time to just kind of refresh the subject. So the first thing that I would look for is, of course, other than your basic, is it the right house and neighborhood and so forth, is what is the view like, okay? How far are you away from Columbia and so forth? Are you on big water or a big cove? Big water, where you're like out on a point, you're gonna get way more traffic and less privacy and so forth. In a cove, you're gonna have less traffic, less rough water, but not necessarily the view. Another key thing about Lake Murray property is the 360. If you've ever dealt with Lake Murray property, you've heard the term the 360. What that is that is the property line for almost all property on Lake Murray. It is the point at which the shoreline will reach, or where the water will reach the shoreline when the lake is 360 feet above sea level. Sea level is a term for, that scientists use a lot to benchmark measurements of height. So, it doesn't mean the lake is 360 feet deep. It just means that today, like for example, my little app tells me the lake is at 357.59 feet above sea level. And so that just means that, the property line, if you look up here on the shoreline, right up here, if you added like 2.5 feet more depth to the lake, that would be roughly where the quote-unquote 360 is, okay? And that is where this property ends. In fact, up there by that fake rock where the lake water pump is for the irrigation system, there's a pin up there that's marking the property. Property line is not the lake line, okay? The shoreline, that's not it. In this case, it's a 360. Some people actually own into the lake, that's a long story there, but almost all property ends at the 360, which also means that you cannot do anything that's not on your property without a permit. So, for example, adding riprap, along the shoreline, or dredging, or putting a dock in, or cutting trees down that are not on your property. Basically, you can see where that fake rock is. If you come straight across, that's the property line of this property. This property owner cannot cut those trees down right over there, those little scrub trees, without a permit from lake management. And it's not likely they're gonna get it. I've had people ask lake management if they can cut stuff like that down, and generally speaking, they won't let you. It also, so that's a key thing to know, is what's the 360? How deep is the lake today? Something else I look for is, of course, is it a private dock or a shared dock? In this case, this is a private dock. And then I look for how deep is the water off the end of the dock in any given day, in any given depth of the lake. And as I mentioned, today the lake is at 357.6 feet above sea level. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my handy little, what I call redneck depth finder. It's a 100-foot tape with a heavy thing on the end of it. And I'll just, let it down in the lake, and then see what the depth is today. And so bear with my shaky hands because I'm reeling this in. But today, what you'll see down here is right now at 357.6. This is showing me the water is 7 feet deep, which also means that the lake level off the end of this dock is roughly, the mud, the dirt down there at the bottom, at the bottom of the lake off the end of this dock, with it being 7 feet deep today, means it's just under 350 feet above sea level. Why is that important? Well, usually in the summertime, lake management will keep the lake level between 357 and 359. Like today, it's almost 358. And one of the great things about Lake Murray is they're pretty consistent with the lake levels. So it's predictable, you're not having to move your docks in and out and so forth. But in the wintertime, they'll take the lake down maybe 3 feet, down to about 353 or so. And every 5 to 6 years, they'll take it down to 350, sorry. So every 5 years ago, and by the way, this dock was on dirt when 2 years ago, Lake Management took it down to 350. It means you can't get your boat in and out, at least not this boat. This boat's on a lift, and that's another thing to know is, when do you need a lift and when don't you? Generally speaking, people seem to think fiberglass hull boats like this need a lift, whereas pontoon boats don't necessarily need a lift because they have metal hulls and they can be pressure washed, and so all that gunk that builds up on them isn't a big deal. But still, even some people will put their pontoon boat on lifts just so they don't have the rough water beating it against the dock. Anyway, these are just a few things about property on Lake Murray. I know this is getting a little long. I could probably talk for 30 minutes about all the ins and outs of all this. If you're thinking about buying property on Lake Murray, the best thing to do is call somebody who knows what they're doing, like me, our team. We're the #1 sales team on Lake Murray, and we'll be happy to help you navigate through that process. So call us or DM us, and we'll be glad to help. Have a great week.